Boston. I had a lot of family out there. Being, I'm New York, and actually, my parents originally, when they left Augusta, hit Boston, and then from Boston to New York. So I had my grandparents there, I had a bunch of cousins, great grandmother, all of them. It was just a big family, and it was 4 hours away. So summers, weekends, Easter, holidays, it was nothing to go to Boston. Now Boston, I remember, is very important musically for me. Very important, very very important. Besides my cousin Joe and me doing my first actual performance at like 3 or 4 at the Strand Theater, and then walking on stage in the crowd tripping and screaming, and I'm doing my little part, man, was dope. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saving that for his segment is on my cousin Joe, Frank Lynch. So there's always music in my family, there's always records, it was always, and a part of Boston I was in was Roxbury, Dorchester, mostly Roxbury. My grandparents lived in Roxbury, and my cousins lived in Dorchester. So we would go, it was just dope, man. And early on, I remember being little, then I remember going out and playing and having a friend named Robert Butler. So they lived, like a couple of doors down from my grandparents. So I'm out there playing, and then for some reason, my grandmother had called me Lou. Boom. She yelled out, "Lou, it's time to come in." So all the little kids was laughing because I told them my name was Joe. So they laughing and they calling me Louie, and boom, and I could just sense it. Okay, here we go with the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So it would come out, Louie, Louie, and I was like, and there was a song out, Louie, 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 back in the day, right? So I'm like really tripping and shit. So me and Robert was cool, but it was just the other neighborhood kids and shit. They was cool, but they were, I was sensing that same hater bullshit. So Robert had these older brothers, and they liked my sister. One was Alan and Charlie, and they had another brother and his sister Connie, banging. So for some reason they tried to holler at my sister, the older cats. So for some reason, once again, when I was in Harlem, I started hanging with older cats. So they was like my sister's age. She's 5 years older than me, so I started hanging with them, and I stopped fucking with the other little kids, and how it was about a bike or some shit, and I rode with them and just was hanging with them and the older cats. I stopped fucking with the little brother and was just hanging with Alan mainly, and his boys and shit. And they were in a band. They had instruments, basses, and bass guitar, drums and shit. And they were older, and they were fucking cool, and they just called me Louie. And I was a whole different, it was like I was a whole different person in Boston. You know what I'm saying? Nobody in New York ever called me Louie. You know what I mean? So it was dope, because it was like a whole different character or person, actually, and shit. It was me, but that's the first place I smoked weed, with these older cats. So I got cool with them, man. We would just hang out and shit, and I would approach. I was like, I had to be, shit, man. I was young when I first started hanging with them, man, like 7, 8, 9, 8, some shit like that, probably 9. And I started getting like girls' numbers. We was on a train, and it was this beautiful girl. She was probably like 15, 16. And I just ran up on her, boom, and I got a number and shit. So they was tripping. Yeah, these older cats was like, yo, what the fuck? So I was definitely in now. So now, one day they get some they were smoking weed, man. And I had not really, like I'm saying, the older cats in Harlem always forbid me to know anything about anything I was doing with the mule shit and backpack or any drugs, any shit like that. They was just not trying to put me on in no bullshit. So I probably had smelled this shit, you know what I'm saying? So one day, it was like all of them, man. We at this one dude's house, so they were all waiting. He comes with the brown paper bag of fucking weed and shit. So they smoking, and I'm like, damn, like, yo, I want to fucking smoke and shit. And they like, nah, Louis, you fucking, I had to be like 8 or 9. They're like, nah, man. So I'm looking, so these motherfuckers tell me some wild shit. For some reason, they's like, oh, you could get high, you just gotta take the bag and do some bullshit. So they had me doing some wild shit. They laughing and shit. And I know they fucking with me. These motherfuckers is teenagers, stoned, got me doing wild shit, thinking I'm getting high and shit. Crazy shit. So then they gave me the roach. It was a little shit, little fucking thing. And I remember putting that shit in my pocket. And then getting around my older cousins and sisters and pulling it out and trying to light that shit. And they was looking at me like, yo, what the hell? You know, 'cause they call me that as well. But these cats, they were just cool as fuck, man. And back to the music shit. Like I said, Alan played the bass. So they hit me to a lot of music, man. Boston had New York has its culture, but Boston had a lot of bands, local bands, like just a lot of just bands, you know, teenagers playing and drums and shit. You seeing young people, it was this park, I think his name was Franklin Park. You would see shit, people just jamming out. It was a lot of music, local music that you were able to see in Roxbury in Boston. You know what I'm saying? It was in Dorchester. It was a thing in the summer, man. It was just a big music scene. And my cousins had a group. You know, they were singers and they were like my sister's age. So my cousin, rest in peace, Bubba, played the bongos. They had a dude play the bass, dude played the guitar, and my three cousins sung. And it was jamming out. I mean, like I said, a band. And I'm looking at it, it's like, holy shit, people got band. It was that doable. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see that shit in New York. And it could have been New York was that big, but it wasn't like we had musicians and shit in parks and all that shit, but you didn't see like the person in Building 7-7 had a band. And that's how it was in Boston. It was Roxbury. It was bands. It was gang of shit. So one particular day, now this is around the same time as that song, New Birth, I Can Understand It. If you go back, my teacher, Miss Salisbury, was the first first song she saw me do that dance, the breakdown. So that comes on, or they playing it. And for some reason, my aunt's boyfriend, Clarence, Sweet Lips, shout out, rest in peace, saw me doing this dance, and he was always cool with me. He would always, give me $2, $3 or whatever money. If he came around, it was just good people. So he was tripping on me doing a dance, just like my teacher. So it was this one time they incorporated me in their show, my cousins and them, and they put the song on, and I did my thing, and boom, boom, boom. So that was doable, you know what I mean? And then back to Alan and them, their band, I remember not ever touching the bass, and they had the bass outside, and they were messing around playing the blues, and I just got on it and started playing it different. Not how you should play a bass, but playing it first. Like I said, it was the first time I ever touched the instrument. I touched guitars, but the first time I ever touched the bass, and I'm playing it and I'm singing, and they're tripping like, yo, looking at me like bugging, looking at me like and they're tripping on how I'm playing it, but how the sound's coming out. So Boston was deep, man. And my cousin Joe, late cousin Joe, Frank Lynch, he was the first one to have me do my first performance, man. There's this theater. If you saw the New Edition story, they had the contest was at this theater called the Strand Theater. They used to have this amateur contests and things like that. So my cousin, he was older than me, but younger than my mom. So he was probably, he's like 2 or 3, 7 years younger than my mom. So he's grown, you know what I'm saying? So he begged my parents, man. I don't know how he spotted. He would always come to New York, and for one day he just saw me doing something. He's also the same person responsible for getting me on stage with James Brown at the Apollo. So, but this was before that. This is the first one. So he begged my pops, man, to let me be a part of this thing. And we rehearsed, and it was this little part that I would sing. He would say something, and da 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 da. I could. If somebody gave me $1 million, I could remember what the song was. So boom, I remember us practicing, and I remember the show being that night and going backstage. Now I'm backstage. Now I'm in a room. I'm 4 at the most. I'm in this dressing room. So I'm in a dressing room like you see in the movies on TV with the big bulbs around the mirror and shit. And I remember looking in it and making sure my hair was right and shit. And then I remember my cousin getting mumbling, getting mad at this dude. Him, I don't know if it was like his competition or what have you, but they was beefing. And he told me to go back in the dressing room. And I remember going back in the dressing room, and whatever happened, this dude went on before my cousin and sung one of the songs my cousin was going to sing, knowing that my cousin was going to sing it. So it was that type of shit. So he had to change his one of his songs up. So he went out, did his thing, and then it was time for me to go. He said, I got my little cousin from all the way from New York City. Boom, he's coming to help me sing. And I walk on stage, and the crowd just go bonkers. I'm like tripping. I'm just hearing screams and ladies and all this. I'm just tripping, and I'm not scared. I'm not nervous. I'm just, and I can't see anybody. I can't see one single face of my parents. I can't see nobody. All I can see is these lights at the foot of the stage, and we do our thing. He didn't win, but it was just, that was the moment, man, where I was like, yo, whatever this shit is, whatever that, it's hard to explain. That feeling, that shit was dope. That shit was a dope fucking feeling, man. So, he went on to do his thing. And like I said, it's going to be a whole segment on it. It's kind of hard to, I tried to do it the other day, but it was like, damn, because it's bringing it up. Anyway, he was tragically killed by a Boston police officer. He had just released a song. And this song called Young Girl, him and this dude, Herschel Dwellingham, actually produced the song. My cousin, I know he wrote some of it, but Herschel gets all the credit, rest in peace to him. But the song was redone by a dude named Eli Reed, L Paperboy Reed, Eli Paperboy Reed, Eli Reed, something like that. Something like that. I'll get it right. Sorry. Or it's L Paperboy Eli. So make a long story short, I'm working. So he released the song, and some wild shit happens, man, and ended up a fucking Boston police officer kills him and shit. It was just some crazy shit, man. And I was young, you know what I'm saying? I was really young, and I remember, like, it was a big thing in Boston, man, in Roxbury. It was almost riot type shit, because it was definitely fucked up the way the shit played out. So that's gonna be a whole nother section. Google Frank Lynch, man. That's gonna be a whole nother documentary, man. Because, Boston, like I said, Boston was dope. My grandmother used to have these old canisters that flour and all that stuff, and I hooked them up like drums. I would be in the basement, just have one with the top bigger than the other, so I have the hi-hat sound. So I learned a lot there. It was 45s. I run right to the record player, same like home, and just play, just absorb all type of music. So shout out to Beantown, Boston. You know how we do. It's just one of them things, man. Let's go. They call me Lil, episode 1 of them, but it's season 3 or 4, but